All right, so this is the 1128 practice, absolute value versus opposites. All right, so just to remind you, the absolute value of the number is how far it is from zero, right? So, for example, the absolute value of 3 is 3, and the absolute value of -5 is 5. So the absolute value is always positive because it's the distance from zero. Opposite just means you're flipping to the other side of the number line, so you're just changing the sign. So the reason for this particular practice is just to get you in the habit of the difference between those two things, right? Like they're not the same. Okay, so the opposite of -8 is +8. The absolute value of -8, so like if you wrote it like absolute value of -8, that would be also +8. Okay, opposite of -3 is +3. The absolute value is 3. The opposite of 24 is -24, and the absolute value is 24. So this one is the first one that's kind of different. So notice here that on the 24, the opposite means you're going to the negative side. Okay, so that's -24. The absolute value means how far it is from zero, so that does not change. All right, because that's a distance. All right, and so what you're doing on the first column, the opposite, is you're just changing the sign. And then the absolute value, you're putting how far it is from zero. All right. Just kind of going quickly through here because that's all there is to it. All right. So it looks like you had a lot of problems here, but you don't, because all you're doing is exactly what I'm doing here. All right, so the opposite, I'm changing the sign. The absolute value is just telling how far it is from zero. The opposite, we're changing the sign. The absolute value is just how far it is from zero. All right. All right, and then the same will be true over here in this column over here. Okay, so on this column right here, you're just changing the signs, right? On this one right here, these should all be positive numbers on the absolute value, because what you're doing there is you're literally listing how far each one of them is from zero. Okay, so all of those are going to be positives. So it's basically the number that you see over there with no negative sign, because it's distance from zero, and distance is always positive. Right? And then on these, you're just flipping the sign. So if it's positive, you're putting a negative sign. If it's negative, you're putting it as positive, right? Looking down here, like this one will be 1.72. This one is 5 1/4. That one's -7/100, and so forth. Okay. So just make sure you got all those filled in. Second part here. All right. So my example here, you have the absolute value of -6 is 6, absolute value of 4 is 4, and you add them up. So here, absolute value of -12 is 12, plus 7, so that's 19. Absolute value of 13 is 13, plus the absolute value of -2 is 2. Absolute value of -5 is 5, and then plus 4.5. So 5.0 plus 4.5 is 9.5. All right, and that is your 1128 practice.